Just a heads up, I just talk about stuff for like the first 5 minutes. You can skip it if you want. Yep. We did it! We released 2 episodes in 2 weeks. That is crazy. Wonder if I'll ever do that again. A lot of it is about trying to balance and kind of stay ahead of audience expectations a little bit. Like if we'd waited 2 years and then released, after the Salad Mug and released the Pete episode, people would have been like what? But the fact we kind of went into like a kind of harder sci-fi single point in space episode that's maybe a little bit too dry, but then balancing it out with the Pete episode, I think that's kind of a good balance, and it kind of creates the triangle I want to exist in too, of like kind of the kind of literal, slightly darker world building stuff, the kind of whimsical, magical, like kind of cozy stuff, and then just like kind of the silly, fun, we can't get too old kind of stuff. And there's another part of the pyramid too. I guess that would be a pyramid, which would be over the top kind of cosmic horror kind of stuff that I want to get into a little bit more, but we haven't gotten to that bit yet because I like having that communication with the audience. Anticipation is a promise that you're making the audience and that they're buying into. You're kind of being like, all right, hold this is going to be important. Now hold this, and then you hand him something really weird. You're like, here, now here's this. And I'm looking at all this stuff, and it's like, whoa. And I've now done 3 episodes of being like, all right, now hold this, and hold this, and hold this. And people at this point are kind of like, okay, I'm holding a lot. Is this going to be used for anything? And it's kind of this like, if I were watching this show, I'd feel like I would be in this place of being like, all right, either these people like know what they're doing and it's pretty cool, or they don't and they're just yanking my chain around quite a bit. And so the whole point of episode 4, which I'm working on very hard now, is to start fulfilling some of those promises. Start taking some of those balls back and mashing them together and being like, look, we're doing a thing. Which means what I really want to do is get some of those vibes from the Salad Mug episode going back right out the gate. And a lot of the vibe of the first episode that I was going for is I wanted it to feel kind of like a little overstimulating, like dropping you in the world and like you're looking around just being like, oh, what's this? So I want to tap into that a little bit. I've got this shot of like the ship flying into the city, and the subtext is kind of like, look, we're back into kind of the world that we established in the first episode. I'm even trying to kind of echo that shot a little bit that we got from the first episode. In fact, I'm kind of on the fence. We'll see how it plays out, but like the opening scene works really good with this kind of like dark, broody music. It's very kind of cyberpunky or whatever, but I also do like my hokey piano motifs and stuff. So at the ending, when Jo is on the train to meet her brother, there's this little hopeful piano refrain. So we have the original, but then I want to kind of go back, kind of, you get, electric guitar solos, saxophone solos, children's choirs. No, that doesn't work at all. I'll just do the cyberpunk jazz stuff. Okay, so what are we doing? Well, one of the things I really had fun doing in the original Salad Mug episode was like, I always enjoy looking at a space and being like, who works in that space? Where do they sleep? Where do they get groceries? Kind of just getting really granular like that. And so I had a few shots in the Salad Mug episode that kind of leaned into that a bit, and I want to get back into that. And so I want to do that right off the bat by showing a little like compound kind of out in the desert as we see Jackie flying back into the city. I always liked the idea. I always wanted to make an entire movie about a guy who was a hyperbole mechanic, kind of this guy who just fixed up the bikes, is the fastest hyperbole mechanic whatever in the world. So I think I'm gonna try to make something. There's a little kind of bluff here, and then maybe some sort of vista here with like some stairs that go down to like a little junkyard or something. And up here I want a tiny little like aircraft hangar, I think, with like a little house kind of built on top, and I think there'll be some kind of stairs. I just like stairs, little paths that you can kind of follow with your eyes. And I probably won't do it in this video, but I do want to have like little people out here, and I want the light to kind of be spilling out this way, probably illuminating, some little thing here to kind of make a little sub-composition. And if we want to feel a little bit cheeky, we could put, driving around on the freeway, you often see very weird signs. big signs for the truckers, and this would be for like flying traffic. And so maybe it's just like eats and lube, which is funny because it's both a thing you put on cars and kind of a sexy oil. And so it's, or maybe it'll just be like eat lube. That would be even stupider. So yeah, let's do something like this. And one thing I try to do is I always try to model something from scratch, even though I've accumulated a bunch of different assets, especially for environments like this, where I've done a lot of things like it. I can always reuse the old assets from the asset browser, you know, rating them from old project files. But yeah, always modeling one key kind of hero thing means that hopefully there's always something new to look at, and everything doesn't feel too homogeneous. So I really want to try to model this building here and maybe the stairs, but everything else will probably just be rated from other files. So let's get into it. Okay, so first let's grab our dude here. So I'm gonna open up the asset browser, and can I just type in dude? And it looks like the asset browser loads a lot faster now. That's awesome. For a second, it would take forever for it to compile everything, which I was like, that's kind of a bummer. This is supposed to like be saving me time. All right, this is how big a dude is, which means let's create a cylinder here. This will be our big aircraft hangar. I want it to be pretty big, but not huge. Yeah, that's probably good. And actually, I want a little bit more geometry, so I'm gonna divide all of these up one more. And that might be too much, but it's okay. This is the one new major prop. It can have a little bit too much geometry. And I want to add some ribbing here. I should probably look up how much would actually be good. But here, let's see. Control B, and then inset and Alt S, and there we go. That kind of gives us that that aircraft hangar kind of look. I'm going for one of those arched steel kind of hangars. I just love those. Those are so kind of like utilitarian but clever, and also just kind of awkward but cool looking. Now what I don't know what I'm gonna do is how I'm gonna texture it, because again, I could model it, but I could also just kind of put a texture of some ribbed kind of rusted metal on there. Let's just jump straight into it. Here we go. New base color to an image texture. Open. And that's a pretty good one. And see, like anything like this. Let's see. Go into material preview, UV editor here. Let's scale this up, rotate it so it goes along with the. Yeah, that's that's feeling pretty good, isn't it? Here, let's try to make it so the bolts aren't stretched, but I still want to scale it back up. Yeah, and actually here, let's set up a little camera right now too. I want it to be down here, kind of like we were talking about in that original illustration. I've been going pretty wide with my camera, but again, the whole point is there's going to be a little ship flying across the sky here, so I don't want it to be too wide of a view, because I want I might go back on that though. Let's put in a little bit of ground just as a kind of a temporary thing here. Good, it's bisecting the building. We'll extrude it down. This will be kind of part of the hill. Actually, one thing that could be cool is having kind of a runway leading into this, as if this is they couldn't find enough flat ground, and so this is actually a little landing pad for some sort of old type of aircraft. That could be kind of fun. So here, let's get like that, a little bit wider, because yeah, I want to be able to have this and then some other kind of like ground in the background here, and then. Yeah, just kind of something a little bit like that. And okay, let's see here. I'm gonna hit Shift S, cursor to selection, to make this appear right in the center of our cylinder. I can move this out. I'm gonna make the door here, because I have the bool tool enabled. I can just click on this, then Shift click on this, Control negative on the numpad, and that just eats it away. Although you'll see it's just eating that shape into there, and I actually wanted to create a hole here, so I might just be lazy and apply this, tab into edit mode, and delete these inside faces here. Actually, here, we'll just move this one in and delete that like that. And yeah, that's feeling pretty good. Actually, here, let's grab these, just add a little bit more. This is going to be a kind of a light source. There's going to be a bright light inside, which means any details we put here are going to actually be noticed, as opposed to like most of the rest of everything else. But here, let's bring those out. There we go. Now we have kind of some layers. I'm going to grab one of these here and pull it out. This is going to be the rail. We're going to have some kind of barn door things going on here. What I like about modeling at this scale is you don't have to do quite as much. You're just kind of you can be a little bit impressionistic. Like, we're going to be seeing it really wide, so I don't have to model every single mounting point and bolt and everything. I can just kind of model like here. Let's do some doors. I'm going to duplicate one of these bits here, Shift D, and let's bring it to kind of the middle of the doorway here. extrude it back out, move it out onto our rail here, and slide it kind of open. I might actually give this a new material here, kind of something a little bit more barn doorish. Let's see, so let's call this Hangar first while we're still here, and then I'm gonna create a new one, and it's just gonna be called door, assign base color to an image texture, open it up, and yes, let's use this this classic CG textures one. So I haven't been using a lot of those CG texture things lately, just because I've been scanning so much of my own stuff that usually, I don't know, I'm just kind of using the photo scan textures. Oh, here, let's rotate this a little bit, and yeah, there we go. And we can kind of, or here, we can add one layer of detail, just Control R, and then here we'll match these two. Double tap G to slide them. We'll do one more right here, and one more right there. Select these 6 faces, and hit I twice, and extrude it in like that. That's pretty good. Here, let's duplicate this. We'll have the other door here, and that, yeah, that feels okay. Let's go into rendered view, and let's just start setting up some lights here so we know what we're dealing with. Here, we'll create our light. Where to go? There we go. Turn the power up to like 111 or something. And I want it to be spilling out pretty far, so I might actually keep it kind of low. And I think I actually want to see what it's hitting there. So I might, yeah, raise the camera so we just barely can see the ground here. That's feeling pretty good. I'm probably going to be turning the light way up at some point. Even that's, you know, not as bright as it could be. Here, let's put in temporary sky. Color, environment. No, we're not going to do that yet, because once you add an HDRI, everything kind of slows down if it's a halfway decent HDRI, just because that's a lot of information for it to be swinging around. So let's just keep it a flat color right now, kind of a dark blue, kind of like that. And let's start building the house. Yeah, and this part's going to be fun because we just get to play around with planes and stuff. In fact, I might model everything flat, kind of like, you know, hey, here's a bunch of buildings and stuff, and then select everything and hit Alt-E, extrude faces along normal to solidify all of them at once. But I don't know the smartest way to go about that. I'm just going to do it kind of by hand here. And my goal is I want to make it look like there's kind of almost a lighthouse kind of vibe just built on top of this hangar. So here, I'm going to move this to right here. Let's build a little house first. I'm just going to be moving cubes around, so I'm going to speed this bit up. And here I'm gonna bring my guy up here now, make sure, yeah, this is not nearly tall enough. Here, let's grab the roof here, bring that back up. And this is fun. I love nonsense architecture like this so much. Here, let's extrude out a final little walkway that'll go out to kind of, I think I want like an aircraft control tower kind of thing a little bit. I think that'd be fun. Here we go like this, extrude that down. And again, I always like grabbing my faces just kind of from somewhere nearby and then kind of straightening them up and starting to work with them, as opposed to creating a whole new plane and like having to position it a million times. Okay, so this is pretty good. We'll have some stairs, then we'll have a little this is a ridiculous structure. I like it. Okay, here's a little rooftop thing here. Let's create the windows. And Alt-E extrude, inset, Alt-E extrude again. My entire life is just insetting and extruding. It's a good life. No, that looks very bad, and I do not like it. Here, let's make the whole thing a little bit smaller here. Just grab these edges and grab these edges and see if we can make it look a little. It just looks a little too cartoony, you know. Like it's supposed to look kind of whimsical, but not just absolutely ridiculous. So. Here we go here. And if this guy were standing here, would this be about the right height? Yeah, totally. Yeah, okay. Here, we'll grab these corners, Control B, bevel them a little bit. Always fun to round things out. And we don't need a door, but yeah, we'll add a door here. Yes. If you hit Y, you can separate that face out and just kind of rotate it and swing it on over, and there you go. Got a little door. We'll do the same thing here. What do we want to do here? I might just delete this. We don't have to be clean with anything. Bring those down, grab these two. Control B to bevel them out. E to extrude it in. And let's make this like a quad pane door. So just inset each of these and bring them in. And I could replace that with a glass texture, but I'm just going to delete it because we're not going to be able to tell from back here what it looks like anyways. If I select this and hit Shift-G coplanar, it'll just select every other face that's perfectly along that same axis. And so I can grab all of these at once. So I can just extrude all of this up. Alt-click on this edge, extrude it out. And I could, again, do that same coplanar trick and then do Control-Negative on the numpad to kind of rescind the selection a little bit and extrude it back down. Here, let's add like some air conditioners and stuff on top. Again, I'm mostly just trying to model the silhouette shape because I think I'm going to have it a pretty dark dusk. And so I want little areas that are going to be lit by, you know, tiny lamps and things. But in general, yeah, we'll raise it all up a little bit. In fact, let's put another one of these things up on the roof of this house too. Bring it down. Oh yes, and we gotta add our windows here. Here, we'll do that. And one right there. So inset, Alt-E, extrude, inset again, extrude along normals, inset, extrude. I'm gonna grab these bottom pieces here and just add a little windowsill. Again, I should be looking at reference because if you just kind of do this, it's like a cartoon, you know? Like it's not. You're like, it's how a child would draw, because you're just like, yes, windows are squares on the side of the, yeah, I don't know. It's, this is not going to be the best thing ever, but it's relaxing, and it's fun to do, so maybe I can just give myself a little bit of a break here. That little lower sill actually does quite a bit, though. That's nice here, and I'm going to duplicate this, add a little, like, module under the windowsill. If I, let's see, duplicate this, and just kind of, like, Control-click. Is that? No, that's, I don't know what I was trying to do there. I was trying to make like a wire or something. Obviously that wasn't gonna work. Okay, let's grab this. Control B to bevel it a little bit. And can we do that on the roof too? Yeah, just that little bit of beveling kind of makes it feel as if it's at least been manufactured or something. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Okay, let's add some railings here. So I'm gonna grab every face that I want to turn into a railing. We'll go all the way around this top bit here. Come on, select that. Go around this side. Yeah, and this bit. And I want the stairs to be coming from, I think I want them to go down kind of this way, then back down this way. So I'll get rid of, this piece. And then Shift-D, duplicate, bring it up to the right kind of railing height. E, extrude down. Select all of it and hit Alt-E, extrude faces along normals. That's good. What's the best way to do a little railing posts? My guess is there's actually like a pretty smart way to do this, but I might just brute force it a little bit because I like hand placing posts, honestly. So here, I'll just start with this piece here, extrude it out on the other axis. I want it small. I always kind of tend to make all of my things about this big, all of my architectural details. But honestly, if we make it really small, it'll still show up in the render, but you'll get those micro details, which are really, really good, especially when it comes to silhouette defining things like a railing or an antenna. If we're kind of establishing that, like, it just adds realism, having these tiny, tiny little details that still show up. So here, we'll grab this here, bring it on over to the other one too. Let's bring it down to here. And one thing that's fun to do here, we'll just grab some of these, Control R, and we're just going to add a few little bends in some of the more prominent ones. Not too many. Again, I don't want it to look too cartoony, but I do want to just add that irregularity so it doesn't feel too computer generated, you know. Here, we'll bring this down. Whoop. Here, I'll get a little bit closer here. Yeah, okay. Now what is the best way to do these stairs? I did that whole video about stairs one time. Actually, before we do stairs, let's add some little support beams. This is gonna be a fun bit. So this is kind of just, you know, they have no zoning laws. They have no, they don't have to build anything up to code. They can just stack wood however they want to. So I'm gonna do that. Did I just accidentally subdivide that without realizing? Yeah, I think I did. So here, this will be like a big iron beam or something. Stick that like that. We'll have a few going in the middle. Dun, dun, dun. And here, let's grab. We'll do one more here. Stick it out, kind of wedge it in there. It looks pretty good. And these will be kind of smaller beams. And here, let's bring them over to here, but because there's no beam here, I'm just gonna bring up the bottom of this a little bit, and we'll add one more cross beam. This is just fun, because this is just kind of how they'd build it too. Like, I guess there should be a beam here, which is why this would probably. So I don't want to get too kind of like cattywampus with these things, because again, it's so easy to kind of like make things start to feel just a little bit too whimsical. I really am trying to split that difference between like I could imagine that place could actually exist. Yeah. Okay. How's that looking? Cool. Yeah, that's not too bad. I think I do want to add some more details here. Here, let's actually add a material to this really fast. Create a new material. This will be called building, and I'm going to do that same thing where I just kind of grab a random. I'm not worried about the textures. Is basically what I'm saying. It's going to be very dark. So, I mean, we could stick along the same veins as the airplane hangar. That could be interesting. Here, let's select all of this and hit U. Cube projection and make it a little bit bigger here. We'll go into rendered preview. How does that? It's okay, kinda. No. Yeah, I guess that's not too bad, I suppose. Here, let's hit Y to separate these out so we can scale them down. Hit Alt E extrude along normals here. That's a little bit thick, but that's okay. Just want to add a little bit of stuff to make the window not a perfect just square hole in the side of the building. Gonna do the same thing here. Actually, can I grab a row? Yeah, like that. Bring it up and Alt E extrude faces along normal, and then select all of them and hit Alt S to just bring them all in a little bit here. And yeah, there we go. Gonna delete all of these guys here. Oh yeah, that's feeling like a thing. I'll definitely want to add some more, supports and stuff going around right there. But where's my light? Let's duplicate the light, put it inside of here a little bit. Oh, that's very nice. Okay, so right now it's really obvious. I mean, this whole place feels a little bit hollow. So let's just add a little bit of separation here on the inside. Can I get inside? It's too small. I'll just bring this down and kind of do it from the outside. So I want to scale this out and kind of create a little loft going on here, as if like it's not a full floor. There's kind of this overhang, and they probably have a little ladder or something for crawling up and down. In fact, we could even go like that. How's that look for the light? Yeah, that's okay. That's pretty good. And, okay, now let's make a neon sign. Gonna create some text. We're gonna go eat lube. Yes. Let's see. Where's the alignment? To the center. Let's change the font to be. Yes, that's probably good. We'll change the line spacing. And honestly, in general, I don't work like this. Like when I'm making the videos, I feel like I have to keep everything going, so it's kind of fun to watch or something. But in real life, I would just kind of like. But in like real life, I would just kind of let myself make an entire project out of just this one sign. I would be like, all right, how would they fix the bulbs if they burnt out? So maybe there's an old ladder leaning up against it, or a scaffold or something, and then like, maybe they had to replace one letter with a different letter so it's a different color, or something kind of like that. Just really try to live in the space a little bit, but that mostly is just me, here, fill mode to none, sitting in silence staring at the screen, so it doesn't make particularly good television. I don't think it's particularly informative. Here, we'll turn up the bevel, get a nice little neon going. Yeah, that's probably okay. Here, we'll do that. I'm going to duplicate this and see if I can change the offset and have it kind of still work. That A is getting a little bit weird, but that's okay. There's other stuff we could do, but I think this will be fine. Here, I'm going to turn up the depth of this just slightly, and maybe here I'll offset it the other way. Yeah, that feels okay. Here, let's create a new material. This will be emission. This will be red neon. Make it red. Maybe 5. And this one will be yellow neon. Emission and make it yellow. And ideally, this already kind of looks like something. This should be redder. Yeah. So I don't know how I want these lined up. Like, this is just a small little facility. I guess if this is eat and lube, like this is the mechanic part, and there's a restaurant up above, so people could just fly in and kind of get their vehicle fixed or whatever. So I think I want to expand this to be like a little patio, a little kind of restaurant deal, which I think is fun. Which means I'm actually going to leave this sign and just follow my excitement at the moment to creating a little sub patio right here. Oh, I like that. The idea that like the patios are kind of stair stepped up the side of this building. Here we'll go like this. So I think I still do want to figure out the staircase kind of comes down this way. We'll have some more stuff here, and then another staircase kind of comes down the rest of the way. So that'll be good. Pull this out, extrude. Can I just reuse this railing here? Here, let's select all of this, hide it. These guys too, and see if I can just grab this and select all linked. Yeah, that's okay. Put it right there. How does this work? Yeah, it's okay. And we'll figure out this back railing, how it'll work once we get these stairs coming down. I'll just delete everything right now and these extra bits. In fact, should we just jump straight into the stairs? Let's do it. We've done stairs before. I'm gonna try doing it in kind of that same way here. I'm gonna extrude this out until it's kind of, maybe we'll even have it a little bit sloped. That'll be cool. No, we'll do it at a 90-degree angle. I think that'll be sure that it works a little bit better. Extrude this out, going all the way down. And yeah, we'll fix all of this in a second. What was the way? Remember, I made a whole video about it. I figured out kind of an efficient way to do it. I think it's something kind of like, we're gonna extrude all of these down, and I'm gonna select this face, hit Y to separate it. So now it's just kind of its own piece here. I'm gonna hit Control R to add a bunch of edge loops. Select all of those, and then let's see. Can I do it with right click if I'm in edge selection mode? Right click, edge split. Do you see? Yes, edge split. So now each of these should be its own individual piece. Gonna go into individual origins, SZ to scale on the Z axis, which lets us scale all the steps. I think maybe my steps. No, that's about good. It's about six steps. It's about 6 steps from the toes to the hips. It's about 6 steps from the toes to the hips. Scale this in a little bit. Select all of these. Alt-E, extrude faces along normals just to bulk it up a little bit. Let's grab, kind of like we did before, all of these top edges. Duplicate them, line them up, extrude them upwards, select linked, Alt-E, extrude faces along normals. And I'm sure there's a better way to figure out how to place all of these different hand railing pieces, but that's okay. Here, I'll just kind of hand do a few of them, and I don't need to go too crazy. Dun, dun, dun. Hopefully this kind of works. I have to line these up this way, but again, this sort of thing, I like it when you're kind of modeling something that somebody may have made out of scrap pieces of wood, because everything doesn't have to be perfectly lined up, because it's like, you know, maybe they just used what they had. Grabbing this, and this, and this, and this, and this. This is still a little bit too sloppy, isn't it? But it'll be fine. Okay, so we've got, wow, this is incredibly sloppy. That's okay. That's okay. Gonna select all of this here, deselect this, and I might just, here, we'll grab these pieces too. Yeah. And the railings. I might just hit P, separate into its own object. Then I'm gonna duplicate it here, and I think, let's see, I'm gonna scale it, -1 on the Y axis, kind of flip it around, and I don't know the best way to go about this, but let's line it here, and then I'm just gonna duplicate all of this. Oh, change it to median point here, and we'll have it kind of double back on itself, which isn't exactly what I wanted. I wanted the stairs to kind of end right here, as if there's kind of this central area, but this still works okay. And then just kind of sloppily, again, no one's ever gonna see this up close. We'll get rid of these pieces here. Here, let's grab this, duplicate it, and just pull it over this way. Okay, so I do want more of these crazy beams right here. So, and I want them smaller, because right now, again, we're getting that kind of homogeneous, everything's about the size of like a 4x4 thing that I tend to do a little bit too much. So just to add more interest to the silhouette, I'm gonna add these smaller bits here, make sure they're actually kind of lined up with these pieces. And they don't even really have, they're not even gonna be doing anything sensible. They're just adding a little bit more interest to the overall design. Trying to keep things from being too square. Grabbing some of these. Again, every time you do this, it adds realism, but if you push it too far, it can make it a little bit kind of cartoony. Like that's maybe getting a little bit too much. Let's actually create like a little trestle here. And then if I just rotate this, these pieces will be intersecting right here because they're both in the exact same space. So I always just scale it a little bit so you don't get those perfect face intersections. Cool. The same thing back there. Yeah, it's looking good here. Alt-H, bring back all the rest of this stuff. And let's see if we can use this same piece. This is a good piece. Let's slip it around just while we got it. Just maybe around the house here as if it's some extra support stuff. Maybe here on the bridge bit too. So normally what I do is I'm a little bit too reliant on all of my assets these days. I just have so many different assets I've made over the years that like modeling stuff by hand the entire time I'm like, all right, but when can I get to just dragging and dropping all my pieces in? Because that's really fun. So this is always kind of a little bit of a test to like, no, just actually try to model something for real. Do the hard work, Ian. I'm like, okay, I don't like it, but I will. Alt-E. I always love that. You can just add. In fact, here, let's Control R, Control B, and then Control B, get a nice thick bit. Alt-E, extrude your face along normals, and then it kind of looks like it's like a, steel rebar or something going up there, or like an I-beam. I think the stairs will work once I give them a darker material here. Here, let's link materials. I'm gonna grab these guys. Did they do it? Interesting. Here, let's hit U cube projection. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's good. And honestly, this is not a great material for everything as being like a total catch-all, but maybe that's okay. Here, let's try to stick a lot of it in the blue bit. No, in the big old rusty bits. That's no. I should just create another material. So one thing, it does feel a little bit too smooth. I don't like that. I'm gonna turn the roughness way up, and yeah, just bear with me. I'm just gonna add a bunch more supports under here. I don't need to be narrating the whole time. In here, since the stairs do go down here, I like the idea of maybe a final little covered area right outside the kitchen. Maybe there's like a final little kitchen that's in here too, or I don't know, maybe this is just the entrance so people could hand food off to whoever's working on, it's like, hey, we'll fix up your airplane. Just go out and up the stairs, and they'll get your order. But let's grab this person, make sure that this is about a reasonable height. It seems like a good door height, and select this, Control negative, and apply that. And I'm gonna pull this in, delete the face, and let's see, does that still look kind of interesting? Yeah, that's pretty good. The very last thing we need to do is maybe we'll add like a little floodlight or something up here just because I want to light up this area a little bit. Are we inside? Oh, we're inside the wall. Are we? No, we're not. There we go. Make it nice and bright. Maybe a little bit green. I always love having the different color temperatures going on. I try to memorize what all these different colors actually are. Like this is maybe mercury vapor light. I forget. Ooh, it's got to be nice and bright here. Change up the scale. Blend it a little bit. We should probably try to get some sort of corrugated metal stuff that may have stacked in just to keep the rain off of certain things. Here, let's create a little plane right here. I'm gonna hide this lamp for a while. I think I went through and actually got a bunch of different corrugated metal at one point. Image, texture, open. Yeah, here's a bunch I grabbed. Let's start with this one right here. See how this looks. Go into material preview. And it's not particularly high res, but I think I'm still going to grab a few pieces from it. So here, this will just be a base one. We'll turn up the turn down the specularity, turn up the roughness, so we're not showing off through a specular highlight that it's secretly really smooth. Control R, Control R, Control R, and Control B. Just, you know, reduce the number of clicks. Let's just grab some of these real fast, and we can play around with them. That's a good one. That's a good one. Cool. All right. So I'm going to select all of these and hit U. No. P, separate by loose parts. And then right-click, set origin to geometry. So each one of these is its own little piece here. I'm going to hide this big main one. And let's see if we can kind of use these to sculpt things out just a little bit. Like, I want to have this awning thing kind of going on here. Kind of that covered area. I guess we could just keep them flat. I want to have some sort of... Yeah, if we just bring this piece down, we can have all of these pieces kind of mounted to it and sloping a little bit. The one thing about working in VR is so much of my time is spent like being like, all right, let's move it this way. Where are we in relation to like everything else? We'll move it up. It's just rotating and trying to move things on different axes. Whereas when you're looking at everything in 3D, you can just grab the thing and be like, oh, I'm going to put it on the shelf. And you can use both of your eyes. You know where it's at depth-wise. And you're just like, oh, it's easy. That was the biggest advantage for that brief period when I was trying to model in VR. And I kind of wish... I missed that, actually. I want to figure out if I can do that again someday. But the disadvantage is Blender's really designed to work with an entire full keyboard, and just trying to use a couple small controllers was not working for me particularly well. So, you know, I don't know. If they ever figure out more nuanced controls or something like that, I would totally hop back into modeling in VR. It's a lot more natural. And, okay. And maybe I'll just duplicate all of this and kind of bring it over here too. Oh, although this will now mean, here, we'll pull it this way. The spotlight will be blocked from the stairs, maybe. Alt-H, bring that back. No, that's still okay. We're definitely getting flat plane vibes from this, though. So, tab in edit mode, Control R, pull it down a little bit, Control B. Yeah, maybe we'll just kind of do this one in 2 different bits. We're almost making it a little bit tarp-like. Which maybe that's not a bad thing. Yeah, that kind of feels like a tarp. I guess that means we can make it translucent. Here, if we select these pieces here, and actually let's join them and turn our corrugated material. I'm gonna create a copy of it, so we can just modify these specific ones. Tarp, great. And if we go into rendered mode, select our tarp, and under the shader editor. Gonna go under transmission here, and let's see if we can... Yeah, there we go. Now it's a little bit see-through. Turn up the transmission roughness, and yeah, I guess it just kind of looks like the light's just bouncing off of down here, but that is actually this light here shining through the tarp. And just moving things around a little. Like, what I'm trying to do is anywhere where things are just kind of too straight like this, I'm trying to break it that shape up a little bit. And I'm mostly just worried about the silhouette, the way it interacts with the sky, because that's the bit we're going to see the best. In fact, let's see. Yeah, gonna do that, and just some little modules and things. It's fun knowing you're just modeling from the specific angle, so you're just basically modeling for the silhouette. It's just very liberating. It feels like doodling. Like I can stick antennas and stuff up there, and this is all just kind of this one piece. Yeah, in fact, I mean, I'm getting so loose here that I can't really move the camera, because once you get off axis, you'll start seeing that a lot of this stuff is kind of just floating. But I think I'm fairly comfortable with how this is all set up right now. And yeah, you can just see all of this right here. It just feels a little bit more like, you know, it's been modified over time, and it's doing good. Let's go back to our Eat Lube sign, figure out where we want to put that. If we rotate that and put it, and we could put it on top of the tower here, that would be let's see, if we stick it just facing this way, I feel like it would also make sense to have one facing the other way, and maybe that's not too bad. It does mean that this light source would make almost more sense being red, as if it were being lit by the neon. Is that kind of cool? Here, we'll make it a little bit more orange. I think that's cool. I do miss that green, though. I do want to get that green back. Maybe I can... Is this the light object in here? Where's the light? It's one of these dots. We'll just go inside. Hello? There you are. If we make you green, how is this? Ooh. Ooh. That's cool. I like getting that kind of contrasting color temperature going on. So this sign, this just looks like exactly what it is, which is an emissive text object. Like, this just doesn't have character. And I guess it's the glow. It's usually kind of the glow. Maybe if I just have more stuff around it that can be casting light onto. Like if we here, Shift S, cursor selection, let's create a little plane here right behind it. And if we actually have this doing a thing, that already reads a lot more like neon because it's able to get that glow of it illuminating the area around it as opposed to just existing in a vacuum, you know, hovering in space. So maybe I'll just try to lean into that a little bit. I don't want a big panel though, because then that would catch the wind, you know, it's sticking out of the top of a building. They get a windstorm, blow the sign right off. And so I want to kind of do it with scaffolding, but that means if we have it facing in both directions, you'd see it facing the other way, which is kind of cool, except I want it legible. Ideally, there would be a freeway that it's facing, and so it only has to have one orientation, really, the freeway. But in this case, it's people flying around. That would be cool if it were spinning. Oh, yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing, isn't it? Okay, so we're going to go into solid view here. Let's go into local. Here, delete this other one. Bring that around like this. Select all of these. Shift S, cursor to selection. We're going to create a cylinder. Make sure it has enough edges. That's enough. That's enough edges. Going to make our little kind of lazy Susan deal. If you're on the Patreon and your name is Susan, I'm sure you are actually quite industrious. Dun, 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 dun. Start clicking too fast. I don't know what I'm doing. Inset. Extrude. This will be called the central post. There can be like a thing at the top. That'll be fun. Okay, so I do want some sort of separation. We can just put a bunch of scaffold in the middle, and maybe that would be kind of cool here. Control R to extrude faces. Let's round this one out. Let's round both of them. Yeah, and I didn't used to model this low poly. I used to try to use the absolute minimum number of vertices on everything, and I'm like, we're all working on supercomputers now. It can handle a cylinder. I learned all of my modeling techniques back in the 90s, so I'm a little bit too precious with polygons. Let's create a material for this really fast. Base color, image texture, open. Yeah, that thing's probably good. Here, select all of this and hit U, cube projection. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Okay, now our scaffold. Should we just do a wireframe, a good old wireframe trick? Here, let's stick the cube in here. Gonna scale it out, and I think I'm gonna do both of them kind of independently here. Control R. Yeah, I'm just gonna add a bunch of not that much geometry. In fact, maybe we'll do a big one and then a smaller, a denser one. I'm not sure. And maybe we won't do it wireframe. Maybe we'll do like all of this and just hit I to inset, and then Alt E extrude faces along normals, and that just kind of looks like, yeah, it's ugly. It's definitely ugly. Let's see how it looks. Oof. Here, if we make it darker, it might work a little bit better. Maybe. Here, we'll set it up here too. I'm not particularly in love with this, but I'm gonna keep playing with it and see what happens here. Let's create another cube here. I think the whole trick, if we just make this a little bit more dense, so you can't see through it, it might work a little bit better. Apply the scale, and I'm gonna kind of duplicate this these edge loops here. Gonna select everything and hit F3, triangulate, which now, you know, triangulates. Now I can go into the modifiers, go to wireframe, and that's looking pretty good. Here, let's link the materials to that too, and line it up with this one. That's good. Here, let's add just a couple more cube shapes in there, just to, again, you know, like little transformers and stuff to power everything. I still want it to be kind of feel as if it's translucent or whatever, but you just need to be able to read the text a little bit better, so people can be like, Ian is 12 years old. Cool. All right, we cannot read it, so here we'll raise this whole thing up a little bit like that. There we go. That feels pretty good. The last thing I want to do is add a bunch of wires, and I think the easiest way to do that is I'm just going to grab one of these points from up here. Shift D to get just that vertice and extrude it out to where I want it to go, which will be down here. You can select that and hit P, separate by selection. So it's just this one thing, and I'm just gonna extrude this piece around. Cool, and just to be wild here, maybe we'll just rotate this 180 degrees too and see if it all still kind of lines up a little bit. Yeah, well enough, I suppose. We won't really be able to see it. Here, I'll just tuck this back into right there. If we go into skin, does that do what we want? So everything needs its own root. So one of these has a root, but this other chain doesn't have a root. So if we have this and click mark root, there we go. Now both of them are being skinned. That's crazy. So I'm gonna select everything and hit, what is it? Alt A, Alt S, Control A. Oh, select everything and hit Control A. Yes, there we go. Now it's nice and thin. We'll make it really small. That's looking okay. Here, let's link the materials to that. I'm gonna grab everything and parent it to there. Control P, and let's tuck the back of this sign in just a little bit. That's good. And I'm gonna add my first bit of animation to this. Go to the first frame. Hit I, rotation, let's go a little bit later, and rotate it, hit I, add another rotation keyframe, now it rotates, and if we hit Shift E while hovering over this, we can do linear extrapolation. So we'll just do that forever. That looks pretty good. This base is now, I'm realizing, very, very large, so let's grab Control Plus to expand the selection here. I want everything up to this point, and then I'll hit S, Shift Z to scale on only those two, every axis but Z, basically. Oh, now all of our wires are sticking out too far. I'm just gonna scale them down too, and yeah, that works. That works okay. This bit's still a little bit funky. Oh, yes, that totally makes the whole thing. Oh, I'm so glad we have a spinning sign. Okay. We'll add moths, of course, and we'll have I could probably have a couple letters flickering or something. I'm trying to think of like, what could we have, what letter could we have burn out so it says something silly. But we're already kind of at that point, I suppose. I do want to put a little light up here in the aircraft control tower. So, don't know what color though, but let's try sticking this up here. And I guess it should be red for, like, you know, nighttime, night vision. Change it to red, and it probably doesn't need to be that bright. Although also we do have a lot of red already going on. Ooh, that's kind of cool though, isn't it? What if we do like magenta? I never do magenta. One thing I want to try doing is, here, let's go back into my asset thing, because I have my volumetric cube I made once. Let's stick it. What is it trying to attach to? Oh yeah, and everything's casting light rays out. That's pretty cool. I like that. Here, let's keep adding some of these panels around. Okay, have we done it? I think we've paid our dues. We've modeled enough by hand here that we can start bringing in other existing assets to kind of add a bunch of life to it. First thing I want to bring in is that beautiful little greeble. Yes, the industrial greeble. Let's just grab any one of these. This is from back before I knew how to name all my assets. Oh yeah, I love this thing. All those little beams we were placing earlier, one at a time like a sucker. No, and this is why I try not to jump into the greebles too soon, because once you start, everything else just feels so slow and painstaking by comparison. And here, let's add a little light underneath these stairs here just to highlight some of this detail we just added. I don't want it to really be visible from the camera view, but I do want to be adding a little bit of stuff. I'm using a mesh light instead of a... Is that even good? Yeah, that's not bad. Instead of a point light, because a point light I think is optimized for kind of the entire scene, and I don't particularly want that. I just want it to be radiating a little bit in just that one little area. It's just kind of a superstition I have when it comes to path tracers. Here, let's grab this, extrude that down to kind of hide that, and then here we'll just make the whole thing sag just a little bit because I'm nuts. Let's bring in a landscape. Yeah, here's the old swordfish file that has some good desert stuff in here. I actually made a video all about making all of this different desert stuff. It's just based off of photo scans. I flew a drone around in the desert, and then I was able to make photo scans out of that. I think we made the sagebrush and everything. But it works pretty good. So I'm gonna see if I can just copy some of this in and make something kind of sensible out of it. I think I have these cliffs, which are good, but I also have these little bluffs, I think, somewhere. These are good hills. I can probably use this just for underneath the, yeah, let's just start with these here. Oh, but first, here's the sagebrush. Okay, so we got one here. I could just hand place them instead of scattering them with a little system. Yeah, I might just do that. Keep from going too nuts here. And I like these because they're a little translucent, so they play with the light really good. Again, I've got a breakdown in the environment video about how I did this. I'll link to it below. How is this working right now? Oh yeah, they get a little bit finicky. Sometimes you have to line them up a little bit, but it looks like it's a little puffball. Light, sun. Let's add a like 0.1. See if we can do kind of a moonlight type deal. Whenever you do that, it kind of, if you add a really bright moonlight, like if we did go with like 0.3 and make it blue, suddenly it's gonna feel kind of Hollywood. It's gonna feel kind of like old school, like, you know, they have to light it for film, which can be interesting, but it brings you in that kind of heightened reality where it's sometimes you look at it and you go, oh, this is like what movies look like. It looks more professional, or it's like, oh, this suddenly looks a lot less realistic, and that can kind of be the trade-off. It's nice to be aware of. Again, if we added this volumetric back into this, it'd probably be doing some cool stuff too, with like, yeah, the horizon and the haze and everything. I'll probably end up adding a little bit of haze into there, but this is maybe a little bit much. Well, that's lovely. I want to even, let's see, 0.05. I just want to barely be able to see these shadows here. Yeah, that's pretty good. And once we add an HDRI probably to the sky or some sort of background sky, this'll probably pop quite a bit more. This sagebrush is the worst thing, so let's move it to the background. Honestly, I still do want to have that runway coming out of here, as if this was just kind of a workshop. But then at one point they're like, well, what if we just added a runway? Great story, Ian. And another thing they do in like big movies is a lot of times, especially in the olden film days before cameras were really sensitive, somebody would be holding a practical light source like a candle, but they would also be like blasting them with some bright, 20,000 watt light from just off camera to add the light from the candle, because the candle wasn't actually bright enough. So I was thinking maybe kind of trying to do that, like adding another light that kind of is in theory this light could be interesting. And it's going to play around with the volumetric haze a little bit and add kind of this nice glow to everything. Turn the world down, world light down just a little bit. I really do want it to feel like a genuine nighttime. Cool. So another thing I did recently is I went out to the desert and I scanned a bunch of tractors, and I'm going to be sharing all of this stuff with you guys soon. I'm making this entire like kind of yellow machinery pack right now, which it turns out is really fun. I was able to make this really fast just by kind of putting the pieces together, and it's it's fun for designing because it kind of comes with cool pre-machined shapes, and you just get to figure out how they all fit together. But I might, let's see, these are all really good. I love this shape. You're going to be seeing me use this shape so much in the near future. But also I've got this big old tractor. I haven't cleaned it up yet, but let's clean it up right now. Here I'm gonna go through for kind of fast. Select everything, hit M, merge by distance, which is going to get rid of any overlapping vertices. In this case, 8,000 overlapping vertices. I'm going to go into the data properties, go down to clear custom split normals data. I get my scans, I do them in Polycam, and Polycam just imports into Blender with a few weird kind of quirks. But here I'm going to try to get this down so it intersects the cube in a good way. Actually, I'm going to duplicate this because I'll probably want to do this a little better for the actual asset. But here, because I've got bool tool enabled, I can select this, shift click on this, control negative on the numpad, And it gives up because it's an exact. But what it needs is the more accurate fast. Isn't that funny? I don't understand that. I'm going to apply that. Select. Oh, are they still connected? Oh, yes, these edges are still connecting all the different pieces. So I'm going to delete these little connecting edges here. And now I think this should be its own island. Nope, it's still... How are you? Oh. Delete that edge. Now it's its own thing. Control I, invert and delete all of these other free pieces. And the last thing I'm going to do is just get rid of some of this gunk up here. So right-click... Shift right click to set the 3D cursor. Gonna create a cube right here. And maybe extrude this up to, and that's probably fine. The problem is the materials. Here, we'll clean this up first. The materials are what make this asset work really. Like when you look at it rendered, you go, oh yeah. That's a halfway decent tractor, but if you're just looking at it in solid mode, it kind of just looks like this blobby mess. And because we're only going to be seeing the silhouette, it's kind of just going to look like a blobby mess. But let's still try bringing that into our scene here. See if maybe it can. If we put it in the light from the entrance, we might be able to still get the benefits. I want to scale it to kind of match the dude size. Oh yeah. This works. In fact, let's get the spill from this light to go even wider. I'm going to pull it closer to the door, maybe bring it out a little bit more that way. Yeah, we're still getting a little bit of funky stuff here. In fact, maybe we'll just clean that up. Solid. I'm just going to hand grab it with the C circle tool. If I were really cool, what you'd really want to do is like add, like we did earlier, adding the wires, use the skin modifier to just add a bunch of stuff back here. That adds the micro details back in, which gets rid of the whole blobby feel. In fact, should we? It's not going to add that much, but let's try it here. I'm just going to create a plane right here. I only want to keep one vertice. Invert the selection, and let's just extrude it out to here, and then here, and back, and this is a little bit crazy, but it might it might kind of help. I don't know. Okay, are we actually on any sort of axis? Not really. Here, we'll rotate it like that. Cool. Go into wireframe. Nope, not wireframe. Skin modifier. And tab in everything. Remember, it's Control A makes everything smaller again. Cool. And I could probably even go smaller than that, but that's okay. Give it a nice dark material here, and let's parent it just to be clean. How's that look? That looks great. That's everything I need. Here, let's bring everything back. Cool. In fact, maybe. I mean, we could, stick this thing everywhere. Except I actually have a bunch more assets floating around. I want this to kind of feel like one thing I found from living in the boonies is it's very easy to accumulate old cars. Every friend has some old car that like their landlord doesn't want them to have stashed around. So they're like, can I leave my car on your property until I come and fix it? Secret tip. They're not going to come fix it. Yeah, these are all the tractors that I'm currently cleaning up. And the scanning mission was really fun, but I was so enamored with the idea of trying to scan all of these full tractors that I forgot that like what's actually useful is the tiny little bits, because you can kit bash with them. And so I got all of these fun scans of varying levels of quality, but I wish I'd just gotten things like this cluster of control levers and stuff that would actually hold up as its own scan. So I'm gonna go back out there, get a bunch more little like kit bashy Lego pieces that are fun to play with. But yeah, just different pieces like this, really fun. You can put that on like a jet engine or something, then you have a you know me. Also, I like these bits here. That feels like that belongs in a aircraft repair center in the desert. This bit's really good. I'm gonna make it nice and big. Oh yeah, that's great. And maybe use it over here too, just because I do love it. It's just this really nice canvas draped over the. Look at that. Oh, that's just fun. In fact, here let's put it on the. Yeah. So it looks like it's kind of part of it. Is that interesting? It's kind of interesting. It looks like it's a type of crane never before seen by man. I'm into that. Yeah, Yeah, sure, why not? Oh, I love this stuff right here. Oh, I'm gonna be using this piece so much. Here, let's put this one, and we'll grab this one too, inside the hangar. There we go. And yeah, and this piece over here is it's just too powerful. Let's see. I want it to look like maybe we can use this to power the sign over here. Let's see if that works. If we kind of stick it up against the base, it might not work from our perspective, from the camera's perspective, but it's got these cool kind of flywheels and stuff on it. And especially if I animated it, that could add a lot. But that's fine. That's fine. Here, we'll just stick one more here and see if that looks like anything. It looks like nothing. It just looks like a random thing that exists. I love it. Here, I'm going to do one more right here, right over the doors, if it's a vacuum, for vacuuming up the trucks that come in so the workshop doesn't get dirty. Smart. Smart, guys. Yeah, there we go. This piece is a little bit too big now. And you can see now why I don't like bringing in the Greebles stuff too soon in the existing assets, because it's just so... everything just goes so fast that it's so impossible to go back to the old times of slowing everything down. Here, let's do hardware, Greebles, antennas. I've got some good antennas. I want to break up this area right here a little bit. Where's my... oh, yeah. I'm still searching for volume. Let's add some coils of rope here. Coils of cables and stuff here. That's kind of fun. A lot of good electrical boxes. Although everything here is importing in kind of a weird axis. Is that in the original asset? That's kind of annoying. Yeah, we'll put the big beefy antenna right here on top. That's nice. Let's see how that works. Cool. And now I think I might be ready to turn up the moonlight a little bit, just kind of see how that fill everything in a little bit. It doesn't feel realistic. If we wanted it to be realistic, we would, we'd underexpose everything. We'd be like, delete the moon, delete everything, just crank all of these lights so they're really bright. The fact we have so much haze going on, which again, I should probably turn down the haze, means that everything is just going to have this glowing kind of quality to it, which I like. But it's that question of like, are you trying to go for absolute realism, or are you trying to make a picture that matches the style that you like? And in this case, I'm trying to match a certain style. I want everything to feel a little bit, just, a little bit cozy. And let's finally try putting in a little HDRI here. Environment texture open. And this one I think is actually properly night, thanks to HDRI Haven. Go check them out if you haven't ever. The strength is very bright, so I'm gonna turn that down to like 0.05. I just kind of want to see. Ooh, and even that's still pretty bright. 0.025. Let's take a look at everything. Ooh, getting the moon in there. We probably want the moon to kind of match up with that light we set up. So here, Shift F3. Go to World in the shader editor. Select this and hit Control T if you have Node Wrangler enabled. Come on, don't lag. Control T. There we go. It's still lagging. Chug, 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 chug. I'm going to rotate this around on the Z axis here and try to kind of line up with where the moon's actually coming from. Yeah, there we go. That's fun, isn't it? You will notice that it's not the highest res because they only have the 4K version, but they have, I think, like 8K and 16K versions too, which I might drop in. Just, it really does affect the responsiveness of the viewport sometimes, especially if you're starting to mess with the HDRI. And so I try not to bring it in too early because I don't want to wait, a quarter of a second every time I try to do anything because it's trying to process the additional resolution of the HDRI. I just got to put my spaceship in there, and I could put a bunch of these little shrubs out here on. Let's actually do that right now. Let's see if I still remember how to use the scatter add-on. So here's this bush here. It's nice and small. Shift click on this. F3 scatter objects. This might be an add-on you have to activate, but once you do that, you can just drag along here and it'll scatter along this. If we go into the tool settings, we can turn up the radius, fill the whole thing, make the scale 1 and some randomness, and I think that should just be good. The density is maybe a little bit high, but let's see. What does that do to the hill here? Yeah, that adds a lot more realism, I think. Just kind of that feathered shrubbery here as opposed to like this other one right here where it's just geometry. Yeah, that's cool. So I think that's where I'm gonna end the video here. Sorry I got a little bit babbly. It's just, it really is, I know I've said it before, but like I can do a thing and I can figure out what I'm doing and I can explain what I'm doing, but I can only pick two. which means if I'm actively trying to figure out what am I doing here, I can't really talk about it. But yeah, I think I'm gonna want to add that little runway sticking out here. I think that's gonna be fun. Here, let's add these stairs just kind of coming off, and maybe that'll be kind of interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I'm particularly into these stairs here, but that's okay. Oh, and then the final thing, once I get the whole, I've got the new Rococo set up, and so we also have been upgrading our photo scanning technique, and Nathan has all these new tools for like adding hands and fingers and everything. So we're going to be releasing a new pack of like crazy people for populating your scenes and like sitting at bars and, you know, all of that stuff we kind of did a few years ago, but like good now. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. I like it freestanding, but here let's hide the haze. Let's grab one of these cliffs again and try sticking it just right here behind the hangar and see if it's kind of, and see what it'd look like if it were built like right into a cliff face. Would it be cool or not cool? Yeah, and one last thing that's kind of important, if you can see the ambient light, if you can see the clouds lit by the moonlight and all of that, that means you're probably really, you know, exposing a lot, which means any lights you do see should probably be really, really bright. So here, let's just try cranking this in here. We'll maybe raise it up just a little bit so it's kind of more, yeah, I don't know. That feels a little bit more realistic to me. It's a thing I see in a lot of beginning renders because a lot of people are trying to do like cyberpunk night streets and stuff, and they'll keep the streetlights really, really dim so they don't blow out the frame. And like the streetlights, if you can see stuff in the shadows, the streetlights are going to be so bright, and you want that really bright, glowing kind of thing. And so anytime you can kind of do that, that's going to help your renders quite a bit. Oh, and I got carried away. I found this little light by Chromefell that I got from a little pack a long time ago. And just sticking it in here, it just adds this nice, I don't know, all these little points of high contrast. I really do think having bright lights, even if they're small, just like kind of overexposed stuff, really does help night scenes, both in the realism and just in making the composition kind of more interesting. Could just be me. Come on, get up against there. Okay, now I'm done for real. I'll be giving this more love, but and I did just kind of let myself stew. Added a bunch of assets that we've kind of talked about before. The plastic sheeting, love how that interacts with the light, and a little bit of steam coming up, and just tiny little details scattered around from my little personal photo scan library. But yeah, I think it works really good. Kind of going from this into the city. I think it's gonna work really well. Anyways, this was a long one. Also a hefty thing to edit. Thanks for hanging out the whole time, and I will talk to you soon. Yeah, I'll try to get those tractor assets uploaded real fast here. They're very fun to play with. I want to use them on this vehicle here and figure out a really cool way for like some of these mechanisms to be updated and a cool door to open. I don't know, maybe I'll make a video about that. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.